everybody. It's Rachel D. Temple. It's echoing in this room. Sorry. I'm going to talk to you about the philosophy of education. Um, I will admit this one I'm about to share with you is not the first one I wrote in my career because, the first one I wrote was actually more what I thought I should say. And it took me a while to come up with something genuine to say. So, my first piece of advice about philosophies of education is to make sure you really mean what you say. It can be a really helpful document. It's supposed to be a helpful document. If you're like sort of jumping through hoops and saying what you think you ought to say, it's probably not going to help you that much. Anyway, it took me a while to arrive at this one. Here is mine. Showing respect through high expectations. As a teacher, I know that a high level of respect is the most vital prerequisite in a positive learning and working environment. Having taught thousands of students, okay, thousands, a little over 2,000, still thousands, I've seen that no one ever responds poorly to respect. Yet even a small sense of disrespect can disrupt a learning environment entirely. Everyone needs respect in order to thrive. This is true for all human beings, not just young ones. While there are many ways in which I show respect to students, the most important way to make sure they know at all times that I believe in their ability to learn and to perform at their highest levels. When expectations are too low, students get the message that they cannot learn or are worthless. People have a tendency to live up to the expectations other people communicate to them. Though it's true that some students need more support than others in order to learn certain things, it's also true that there is a path to success for every student. Though not every student's path to success might follow the same route, every student can be challenged and can exceed their own expectations. It's when students cannot see a path to success that their motivation and attitude can wane. When one path closes, it is my most important job to make sure they see the next alternative. This is how I structure my classroom and how I teach. Personalization is built into my plans, and I get to know my students well enough to like them genuinely and to make sure they know they are valued. This is how I treat all students, and it's at the heart of every success I have with them. I would also say that this is at the heart of every decision I make and every sort of interaction that I have. When I correspond with parents, is the fact that I care about the kid the main message, no matter what it is I'm saying to the parent? Like, even if it's like, your kid told me this outrageous lie, the message needs to be more than anything else that I care about the kid. When I'm having an issue with a student, this philosophy goes into how I deal with that student when I talk to them. Um, it's pretty rare that I just take a student out in the hall and I like, ream them out. It's what's going on with you. I care about you. You're valuable. I don't get a lot of disrespect back from students when they've clearly gotten it from me. I also find it really, really important that I show respect in everything I do, and that includes learning their names in the first 2 days. And that's ambitious, and I have ways to cheat, but quizzing myself on their names, not just first names, but last names and how to pronounce them. Like, how else can I show them that they're valuable to me? There are always ways, and that's one of them. The way that I structure the grading in my class with categorized grades so that their grades always reflect their skills, not just maybe how obedient they were. And so that there's through categorizing the grades, if a student can't do everything, where is the path to success? Okay, do these most important things. Show me the skills. That's a form of respect too. I think by modeling respect, I'm also modeling professionalism. I'm modeling like how to keep going when you feel discouraged. And so I get better behavior in my classroom as a result. And I hope at least there'll be more empowered adults as a result of that. There are lots of times like when I feel demoralized as a teacher, and it's always because I feel disrespected. This year has been kind of a doozy for that. And so noticing that in myself is actually what sort of led to this originally. I've had the same philosophy of education for 20 years now. And every time I read it, I'm like, yep, I still believe that. There's not a word of that I don't really, really mean. There's not a word of that I don't put into use all the time with everything I do. I think other forms of respect to show for students are, being really organized and making sure there are lots of ways to get the information. I don't expect to just say something and then they hear it, because I don't hear everything that's just said to me. I need to see it written down. Like, respecting what they need is also a big part of what I do. And I pay a lot of attention to how I learn. Like, I think it's really important for me to be a beginner at some things, like, all the time, because I notice and to make sure I do things I'm not good at once in a while, so that I kind of notice what it is I need. Like, I don't need, like, if I'm trying to run a marathon or something, there's something I'd be bad at. I don't really need somebody running next to me all the time telling me how much I suck. I don't need that. I already know. So like if I'm trying to teach somebody how to write and they are not very confident writers, I don't need to point out every error they make. I don't need to point out how much they suck. I need to point out what they're doing right. I need to point out the next step to success. All right, now you've done that. Now do this. I don't need to pepper their whole papers with comments. That's not respectful of my time anyway. And it's not respectful to their learning process. What is respectful is noting their successes, giving them the next step. I think that's a lot more respectful than just, tearing them down for every little thing. Dealing with a whole class when like they're like a lot of them aren't doing their work, like how do you address that? I think it's important to address what's going wrong. You didn't do your work. I gave you enough time. This is not my fault. It's okay to give them a tirade about this, but then you've got to shift it to what they can do. What do you do now? An attainable thing to do. You didn't do this by today. You let me down. Do this by tomorrow. And if you can't, I better hear about it before tomorrow. Like, um, what can they do rather than what they didn't do? I mean, it's important to address it when they messed up and they didn't do what they were supposed to. But then moving into what they can do. What is the next path? What's the next step forward? Um, Valuing them the way I like to be valued is, I guess, at the heart of this too. When I mess up, how do I want to be dealt with? Do I just want to be berated for an hour? I mean, I might deserve it, but what comes next is also really important. Um, anyway, that's it. I mean, whatever your philosophy of education is, make sure you really, really mean it and make sure that it touches every part of really of what you do. In a situation where it might not be clear what the right answer is, does your philosophy of education help you make the right call? I think that's another good measure of what a good philosophy of education is. I think that's all I got. I don't have any other advice to give. Respectfully. Bye.